This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Who else could it be? Me, you're me, Louie T. Welcome, you are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Louie. Thank you for joining me. This is the NFL Draft Prospects 101. Your guide to some of the biggest and hottest names of the 2015 NFL Draft. We're talking big boys along the defensive line. And if we're talking big boys along the defensive line, let's talk about Oklahoma's Jordan Phillips. You jump into his pros and the first thing you see is his size. Ideal size for the position, 6'5", 329 pounds. So again, stout, big guy, eats up space, going to fit right in with the mammoth players in the National Football League. He hustles. And I think this is something sometimes we take for granted. You just expect a guy to hustle just because he's a professional football player or just because he's a college football player, just because you see him on your television set. You expect him to hustle. That's not always, especially when you start talking about guys north of 300 pounds. You don't always get guys that hustle all the time. This guy hustles all the time. He's one of those guys that he wants to be involved with the play. He may not be there on time, but he'll always be there when you call. He'll get there eventually, and I like that. Look, it doesn't matter to me whether it's your side, it's weak side, it's strong side, it's play side, it's back side. I just want you there. You know, I want you en route, in pursuit, or there. And Jordan Phillips normally is one of those things at the end of the day. Great pad level for his size. When you get 6'5", when you get 6'6", 6'7", even 6'4" guys, the tendency for them is to stand straight up. It's a natural habit. You come off the snap and your first move is here instead of forward. And down, thrust, up, pad level push, and get some kind of leverage on the offensive tackle, guard, center, whomever is in front of you. With him, great pad level. At 6'5", he keeps his shoulders down low enough so that the offensive lineman doesn't get to see a lot of numbers and get up under his pads and drive him back. He gets a nice base and center of gravity, is able to get up under the pads of the offensive lineman in front of him. He's rarely pushed back. He didn't always get penetration. He's not always going to get into the backfield. But one thing I can say with pretty much great certainty is that he's not going to be blown out of any given play. And I like that about Jordan Phillips. He'll be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. If he's supposed to be in the A gap, it's in the A gap. He's supposed to be in the B gap. You can pretty much bet your bottom dollar Jordan Phillips is in the B gap. So I like the fact that he didn't get blown off the ball. He stands his ground. Great pad level for Jordan Phillips. Can play a high volume of snaps. When I watched the film on him, it was a joy to watch a guy just be on the field. You know, sometimes with these defensive linemen, especially the D tackles, these nose tackles, these guys that are space eaters, they can't give you a lot of snaps. They got to be in heavy rotation. You know, you get 3-4 good snaps out of them, they got to come off the field. You don't see them for another 3-4 snaps, and they come back on the field, give you everything they got, then they go off the field again. It's a guy that can play a number of snaps, high volume of snaps, in succession, give you everything he's got, and continue to keep the motor running hot despite being tired. At 329 pounds, I'm not saying the guy doesn't get tired. I'm just saying when he's tired, he's still giving you everything he's got in the tank. And again, that's something that I truly admire out of defensive linemen or anybody north of 300 pounds to be tired, to be winded, and not allow that to stop you from having the motor run hot, to me is a strong attribute that should not be discounted. Strong and stout at the point of attack, which kind of lends itself to me talking about great pad level and not being pushed back. He's there when he's supposed to be there, does a great job of standing up at the point of attack. Flashes quickness off the snap. You don't get this all the time, but when you do get it, man, is it a thing of beauty. He can end up in your backfield in no time flat, making a play, putting his arms up in the air like, yeah, I just did that. Jordan Phillips is one of those guys, I want to see him be more instinctive, because when he's instinctive, he's in your backfield. When he's not, then he's not making plays. If he can be more instinctive and guess right, you got a problem on your hands, and his name is Jordan Phillips. Versatile, and I think to me this is the thing that's going to make him a very hot commodity in the first round, is that I think he's scheme diverse. Okay, at 6'5", 329, you can feel comfortable sticking him in the middle of the 3-4 defense as a nose tackle and feel really good about what you're getting from him from snap to snap. You can feel even better about sticking him in a 4-3 defense as a 3 technique and saying, hey, big boy, plug up the middle, stop the run, and get occasional pressure on the quarterback when you can, collapse the pocket, yada, yada, yada. That's why I think Jordan Phillips is going to be a first-round pick in this spring's NFL draft. You go to the cons, there's not really a lot here. It's got a lot of good tape, and that's something that I like about Jordan Phillips. Pretty much, you know what you're getting, consistent football player. He's not overly athletic, okay? At 329 pounds, 6'5", you're not going to be wowed by what you see from him athleticism-wise. He's not going to just jump off the screen, wow, that was a heck of a play, sideline to sideline. No, it's not what you're getting from Jordan Phillips. What you will get from him is just constant grit. You'll get grind out of him. You'll get all of the things that you're looking for from a big guy in the middle of a defense, but athleticism is not one of his dominant traits. No pod, okay? These last couple of guys that I've talked about really don't possess a pod, and I think, to me, I don't want to say that's what separates them from Leonard Williams or Danny Shelton or any of those guys. I don't want to necessarily say that, because I don't think people value the pod like I do. I mean, I love guys that are getting blocked and then they're not. And it's just one arm. It isn't stacking and shedding. That's a totally different vibe, okay? When you take a guy, toss him out of the way, and make a play, that is totally different than I'm being blocked, I can't get off my block, but I can stick an arm out there and really impede the running back or whomever has the football from getting past me. That is a totally different art onto itself. He doesn't have that. So another one of these guys that doesn't possess that paw of doom. Wish these guys would just be cognizant of where the ball is, because sometimes all you need to do is stick your arm out there and you can impact a play greater than you will ever know. Doesn't offer much in the form of pass rush. Now one of these guys is going to get to the quarterback very often. Not one of these guys that you want on the field necessarily in 3rd and 8 situations. When you start talking nickel and different sub packages, probably want to take Jordan Phillips off the field. Now, hey, can he collapse the pocket? You betcha. But is that something you want to rely on? You want a guy that can actually win on 3rd down. That's why you start to see all these NASCAR packages and whatnot with teams putting 4 pass rushers along the defensive line, guys that can win one-on-one matchups. He's not one of those guys. Probably don't want him on the field in a 3rd and long situation. But doesn't mean he won't be on the field. Doesn't mean you can't ask him to play a role on the field in those situations. He's just not going to win those situations very often. And so that, in a nutshell, is Jordan Phillips and his NFL draft prospects 101 breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Got another big boy to break down. Come back and join me. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.